Slight pause. Imagine this. It's the middle of the night. It's completely silent. And then suddenly, a voice from a ghost cuts through the static on every radio in town. Today, we're going to break down the absolutely unsettling case of the Black Hollow, a story that all kicks off with this one single impossible message.
All right, so let's get right into it. The best way to understand this whole thing is to treat it like a case study, right? So we're going to start with stage one, the anomaly. And this is the part of the story that honestly just shouldn't be possible.
So picture this. It's 2:17 in the morning when, out of nowhere, the static is just gone. It's replaced by a voice, and this wasn't some garbled, far-off transmission. No, this was crystal clear, and it hit every single radio tower in the coastal town of Greyhaven for exactly 11 seconds. Then, poof, silence again.
Now here is where the story goes from strange to completely unbelievable. You see, that voice didn't belong to some lost fishing boat. The man who was speaking had been missing and officially declared dead for 12 years.
The voice was identified as Captain Elias Moore. This guy was a brilliant deep-sea researcher. He and his entire crew, along with their cutting-edge submarine, the Orion, just vanished one day in the North Atlantic. No SOS, no wreckage, not even an oil slick. They were simply gone.
And that's really the core question of this first stage, isn't it? If Captain Moore and his sub have been sitting at the bottom of the ocean for over a decade, how on earth was he sending a perfectly clear radio message to the entire coast?
But believe it or not, it gets even weirder. When sound engineers analyzed that 11-second clip, they noticed something else, something hidden behind his voice, a faint repeating tone. And it wasn't just interference, it was intentional. It was Morse code, and it was broadcasting a single set of coordinates over and over and over.
This is where that little shiver goes down your spine. The coordinates didn't point to some known shipping lane or a research area. No, they pointed to a dead zone in the ocean that sailors only whisper about, the Black Hollow. A place that isn't known for storms, but for the chilling fact that ships that go in, well, they don't come out.
So, let's recap. You've got an impossible radio signal from a man who's been dead for years, pointing to a legendary oceanic graveyard. So what happens next? That brings us to stage 2 of our case file, the response. I mean, how do you even begin to investigate something like this?
Well, they moved fast. Within 48 hours of that signal, a fully equipped private research vessel was already on its way to those coordinates. Just a few days later, though, the only thing they found was some floating debris.
Yep, just like the Orion and all the ships from the legends, this second vessel vanished into the Black Hollow. The exact same pattern was repeating itself, but this time, people were paying attention. This mission to find answers had only managed to create more victims.
The search party found absolutely no survivors, just splintered bits of the ship floating miles from where it was supposed to be. But in all that debris, they found one thing, one critical piece of evidence that could change everything, a single waterproof audio recorder from the ship's deck.
And that discovery takes us to the final, haunting chapter of this case. Stage 3, the aftermath. What could possibly be on that recorder? What did the crew of that second ship find out in their last few moments?
The last audio file. It wasn't very long. Most of it was just these awful, ambient sounds. The groaning of metal under extreme pressure. The heavy, panicked breathing of the crew. And then, a whisper.
It's an unknown crewman from that second ship, and his words make it sound like they found something. Not an empty submarine, but something active, something watching. He says they. Who is they?
Then, just before the recording dissolves into static, one more voice cuts through, clear as day. And you know who it is. It's Captain Elias Moore. And his last recorded words are not a call for help. They're a terrifying conclusion. He says, "We were wrong about the ocean." Wrong about what?
And with that, the official investigation just stopped. The case went cold, leaving them with so many more questions than answers. They found wreckage from the second ship, sure, but still no sign of the Orion. They had 2 ghostly voices on a recorder, but 0 survivors, and absolutely no logical explanation for any of it.
But the story doesn't really end there. The investigation may be closed, but something is still out there. To this day, radio operators and sailors in the area swear that on the calmest nights, when the air is perfectly still, a very faint signal sometimes drifts across the waves.
And the message is always the same, the exact words that started this whole thing. It's like a constant, chilling reminder from the bottom of the sea that whatever happened to Captain Moore and his crew, it's not over. They're still there.
Which leaves us with the one giant lingering question. If the crews are gone, who or what is still sending that signal? Is it just a bizarre echo, a warning, or is it something else entirely, still active in the crushing blackness of the hollow?
You know, maybe the answer was in Captain Moore's last words all along. We were wrong about the ocean. And perhaps this whole case is just proof that some truths were meant to stay buried in the deep.